Dailies today
on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Good morning to Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome to the second part of Dailies today. For today, I'm Sheriff Quadry. I have Ufuoma Egbamuno, our news manager here at Nigeria Info FM. Ufuoma, good morning to you.
Hello, Sheriff. Good morning, and good morning, Lagos and beyond.
That's right. Let's begin. We've got the papers for you today, as usual, and we're going to be going through the papers one after the other. Let's start this morning with the Vanguard newspaper, and the Vanguard story on the front page reads: fuel price increases pushing Nigerians to the limit. Labour. Farmer.
No lies there, Sheriff. It's not a laughing matter. I just chuckled a bit, but it's not a laughing matter. From 190 in 1 year, it has gone up to 1,025 naira, or is it 1,030 naira, or is it 1,000, whatever it is, but it's over 1,000 naira. Sheriff, that's the official price. Obviously, when you get to the petrol stations, there's a possible extra 30 naira, extra 40 naira, or extra 50 naira, depending on which one you go to.
That's right.
But the bottom line is that petrol is like the nucleus of the foundation of almost everything we do in Nigeria. It's what we use to generate power. It's as soon as it goes up, because of the epileptic electricity situation we have, you have to put on the gen to be able to do whatever it is you want to do with power. That's a problem for the small businesses. Your barber on your street, your hairdresser, if there's no light, well, they have to put on the gen. What that means is the cost of production, or the cost of goods and services, will definitely go up. So the food you want to buy, if they used to sell 2 portions for you at 1,000 naira, it probably be 1 portion at 1,000 naira. So it means that Nigerians are spending more, and of course they are the money they receive, the money they generate themselves, it's probably not enough to even cater for feeding. We've had stories of people who can't even feed again, or parents who go hungry just because they want their children to at least eat the remaining thing they have at home, or situations where children have dropped out of school because parents can't afford it. So yes, Nigerians are slowly getting to that limit, and it is, as much as the president keeps saying endure, we'll get to the end, it doesn't look like we're going to get to the end of that dark tunnel anytime soon.
Let me add to this story in the Vanguard newspaper. This story is on page 8 of the Vanguard. Workers poorer now despite pay increases. Oshiomhole lament. Oshiomhole is APC stock, right?
Yeah, senator, former governor, former Labour leader. Well, he was quite famous, in that particular role. So he definitely knows what he's talking about. And we don't need an Oshiomhole to tell us, Sheriff, you and I know, even if you get 100k increase in your salary this year, the things you used to buy for 700 naira last year, by May last year, you're buying it for 1,005, possibly 2,000 naira. So whatever increase in salary, yes, government, generates more money now. States get more money now, local governments get more money now, workers themselves in the states that it has been approved, because not even all the states have approved it, or started implementing it. Yes, you get more money, but in actual sense, the more money you get can't even buy the things you need, because like Oshiomhole noted, things have gone up. In some cases, double the price. In some places, 50% increase. In some other places, 200% increase. So I honestly don't know how we're going to get out of this quagmire, but it is what it is.
Would you say the current government has shown enough empathy, enough concern as to what?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And for me, that is the worrying part. On one hand, the executive or the politicians are talking about endure, cut down, but they themselves are not doing it. The other day, the president was doing some cosmetic, ministers, you're not going to go with more than 3 convoys. Oh, your security is going to be 4 policemen and 1 DSS. Come on. That's just cosmetic. That's acting in front of Nigerians like they're doing something, when in the real sense of the word, they are not. Because you ask yourself again, if you're cutting costs, why did you have to go get a new jet? Please miss me with all that. Oh, the old one is bad. This is that. The vice president could not attend the last
UNGA.
Don't be shocked if in the next 1 month you hear that they're going to buy a new jet for the vice president. That's how the first one started. You remember? When was I hearing this? Oh, the president cannot go here. Oh, this, and they bought a new one. For the politicians, and this is not just about the presidency. It's the whole state. The governors, the local government chairman those of them that, even those that were appointed by governors or those that were elected, all of them, from senators to the other day, was it Oju Zokalu on one of the TV stations talking about how 16 million naira is not enough for me as a senator. Like, really? How many Nigerians can even boast of 500,000 naira in their accounts? You do the maths. So it will be good. Nigerians, the good news about Nigerians is we can be very patient. If the executive, the legislature, and all the politicians in government are showing signs that, okay, we feel your pain, we know that things are bad, we supposedly do not have as much money as we think we had. So they cut down on a lot of things that they're spending money on. And this prices of petrol is going up, which is, of course, causing more inflation and all of that. To a large extent, some Nigerians might understand. But a situation where they see the people at the helm of affairs continuing with the crazy spending, never mind the cosmetic things that the president is doing, but they're telling you and I to endure. They're telling you and I to cut down. That's what's getting a lot of people angry.
Indeed. Let's go to the back and forth where we started from, but this time from another angle. Dangote marketers in fresh row over sale of petrol. The riders say we are ready to buy from private refineries, but that's the marketers. Nigerians demand fuel price reduction and availability. Page 4 of the Daily Trust.
Sheriff, honestly, between you and I, you see, I was chuckling when you were reading the. It's for want of a better word, it's tiring. You know why it's tiring? Nigerians are being taken for a ride. It feels like we are fools. One day, the IPMAN president was here last week, if my memory serves me. He actually had an interview on Channels TV yesterday. Almost everything he said in that interview, he said it on Nigeria Info last week. The point is, nobody is telling us the true situation of things. Dangote is on one hand granting interviews saying, I have over 500 million liters stock. The IPMAN is saying, hey, we can't even load petrol from your refinery. Who do you believe? Do you believe the man who owns it and says, I have over 500 million? Or do you believe the people who are supposed to be going to his refinery to get it, who say they cannot load? So it's just a mess. Now, this whole supposed price increase, the question is, where is it coming from? And there's one very pertinent question I've been asking for months now. How much is Dangote actually selling his petrol? It's a conundrum because, like I said, the government is slightly silent, and I'm in the government. I'm talking about NNPCL. Dangote is not giving us, I would argue, the true situation of things. IPMAN on one hand, so we have a situation where you don't know who to believe, but who is suffering it? You and I.
Who is supposed to take decisive action on this, really? Because as far as we know, yes, NNPCL is a government body, but NNPCL is also a retailer. NNPCL is a player in that field. They're there to make money, for the government. Now, the independent marketers are supposed to be competitors to NNPCL. Why is it that it's only NNPCL that can buy fuel from Dangote and not the independent marketers. I've heard that some of them are still importing, fuel into the country when we have supposedly
500 million
abundance
plus
of petrol in country.
So Sheriff, that's
I mean, shouldn't somebody put his or her foot down and say, look, everybody go to this place and go and buy?
Who's your petroleum minister?
The president.
Exactly. So with all the rigmaroling, with all the A says this, B says that, and all of that, the buck stops. As far as I'm concerned, I'm a believer in leader taking responsibility. The President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is the Minister of Petroleum. So all of these issues we're talking about, last, it goes back to his table. And for the fact that Dangote is telling us one thing, NNPCL is telling us another, Ipman is telling us, a slightly different story, who am I going to blame? The president. The president is the one who, that's the ministry he supervises. Apart from that, he is the president of the country, and his citizens are one way or the other suffering this misfortune where we don't know exactly what is true. You cannot tell me that you have 500 million liters of petrol and we're still seeing scarcity. We're still seeing queues. Ipman has said, well, we can actually go and we can import this product. I think one of the things Dangote said in his interview 2 days ago or thereabout was that he doesn't want why will people be going out to import when I have it here? So who is lying? Ipman said on this station, the president said on this station, I think it was an interview on the Morning Crossfire,
yes,
that they are unable to get from Dangote. He reiterated it again in his interview on Channels TV yesterday morning that they are unable to get petrol from Dangote. So who is lying?
So, well, to put it in proper context, I'm not sure that he was implying that Dangote couldn't give them. But what I think that he was saying is that they still have a bunch of cash.
Outstanding debt with the NNPC. Yes.
So
but he also alluded to the fact that he queried the what's the word now? My English fails me. He queried the goodness me, must speak PC. In the ask whether true, whether anybody feel believe say Dangote get 500. He sort of alluded to that. I think in the interview yesterday, he sort of alluded to that. More like, are you even sure that truly what Dangote is saying that he has over 500 million liters is actually true? And for him, a big player in that industry, to have doubts,
that kind of doubt,
that's my worry, Sheriff. We honestly are not getting the true situation of things, either from the NNPCL, the presidency, Dangote himself, and of course the other players in that sector.
I hope this is resolved very, very swiftly. Talking about resolution, let's take this one here, quite an interesting one. It says, don't take everything IMF World Bank tells you, Jega tells federal government. That's in the Daily Trust.
Do I need to say more? Because from over the last 30, 40 years or thereabout that I have been, where I get sense, we've been going, this has been a running battle. IMF giving us either loans, but putting what's it called, some criteria, which is you have to do this, you have to do that before you get these loans. It's been a recurring debt. Even when I was in primary, secondary school, that I probably did not have enough knowledge about what they are talking about. I know that when I listen to when I listen to the news on NTA back in the day, I hear all of these. IMF is telling the government this. IMF is and I'm an adult now. I'm married. I have 2 children. I'm feeding families, and I'm still hearing this whole
the same thing,
the same IMF thing again. Sheriff, I'm just tired. Let's just leave it like I'm tired, because yes, truth be told, Jega has a point. When people who are not your part of your citizens, who are more or less international bodies, sometimes all of the supposed grants and loans that you get come with conditions that might favor these guys and not necessarily your own interest. But because we have sort of run the country to the ground, to the point where we need these
desperate.
Exactly. When you are desperate, you can take decisions that ultimately in the long run might not necessarily help you, but because you are desperate to solve issues at that point in time, you want to go ahead to do it. But the question I'm sure most Nigerians will be asking is, all of these loans and grants that we've been taking for God knows how long, do they really get to the point where they need to get to? Or somebody somewhere just finds ways, to take whatever needs to be taken and put in their pocket. And of course, you know that almost every time in Nigeria, there are no consequence. People get away with blue murder. And so when that keeps happening, the next person believes that. A very good example. Remember the agency guy that they were doing investigation at the Senate, or was it the House of Reps, and he fainted? What has happened? That incident is over a year. Have you heard anything again? You will see that scenario the next time.
Indeed, and that's really scary. Cast out on almost everything that anybody is telling you, especially in public office. Let's go to this day newspaper. With Naira for crude, Tinubu promises more stability.
I think that's a good decision. We have dollarized our economy and almost everything we do to the point where we're suffering it right now. This whole exchange rate, it's a lot of factors. If we're being honest, let's also remember that politicians themselves have also added to it. Once they get allocations from the federal government, they use the Naira and buy up all the dollars that are available, and that has, I'm not so much of an economic expert, but I know that has damaging effects. Also, the way we've dollarized our economy to the point where you even see some companies advertising publicly. It should be a crime. You should not sell. You should not buy and sell. You should not buy and sell in Nigeria and not use the Naira. But we see companies. In fact, we have expatriates in this country being paid in dollars. It's a crime. It should not happen. But because we've let it happen, the adverse effect is weakening of the Naira. So the president has too many issues. I'm not even going to lie about it, but there are also a few things he has been trying to implement over the last 18 months that you would, is it up to 18 months? Okay, no, over the last 16 months that you would argue, if we go at it in the long run, is going to be beneficial for us as a country. One of that is, of course, this selling of crude, in Naira. Remember that about a year ago, thereabout, when this the Russia-Ukraine war, it got to a point where Russia decided, you know what, we're not selling any gas again to anybody in any foreign currency. You must pay with our own currency. So I think countries need to start doing that. Unfortunately, while some of these policies are good or have good intentions, because the overriding effect of inflation and the increase in petrol is dealing with almost everybody in the country, there are very few Nigerians who want to listen to all these economic quote-unquote jargons.
I mean, it caught my attention when you said the president has done well in this aspect. One of the other issues that Nigerians are really concentrating on is divestment by major oil giants. What easily comes to mind is Shell trying to offload their assets to part of their assets to local companies. And people are asking, especially stakeholders in that sector, are asking, what is delaying this? I mean, if an IOC is saying, look, we want to offload this asset to local companies, and we have local companies who have come forward to say that, yes, we can take over this asset, why is the Tinubu government delaying?
Well, Sheriff, this has been going on since like January 16th this year. According to the regulators, in this sector, they want to ensure that things are done properly. That whoever it is, the local consortium that wants to get into this industry, they have the capabilities to be able to do it, and not just an all-comers affair. Because let's also be honest, we've seen remember there was a time that it was sort of delayed, but we've seen Mobile, transmitting to Seplat. We've seen I think it was Ajip that also went to sort of the divestment, went to what's it called, Oando. So we've seen some of these happen, but the government says they want to ensure that this one, the one of Shell, they're trying to get their or rather the consortium of local firms, about 4 firms, that consortium called Renaissance, they're trying to get into this system, but the government says we need to be able to cross the T's. And
how long will it take them to do this? So here is why I'm talking about this, because we're not producing enough crude. Why delay for that long since January up until this point?
Unfortunately, I'm not the spokesperson for the federal government, so I might not be able to tell you why. But a presidential aide, just recently, the special advisor to President on Energy, Olu Vejain, just recently, I think that interview was on Bloomberg, talking about how they're trying to resolve this as soon as possible. Because let's be honest, on one hand, we can criticize the federal government for ensuring or putting up policies or doing things that are making some of these big foreign companies who are domesticated in Nigeria leave. On the other hand, you could also argue that maybe the government also deserves credit for doing this, because as these supposedly foreign companies who are domesticated in Nigeria are leaving the system, we have Nigerian companies, local companies coming into play. Renaissance, a consortium of 4 Nigerian companies trying to get Shell's trying to get what Shell wants to
Shell's
sell. We've seen it with Oando taking up Ajip. We've seen Seplat taking up what's it called, Mobile. So you would argue, for as long as these are local players, it puts the money right here. It gives more opportunities to Nigerians. They're possibly able to hire more people, possibly able to do all of these transactions in Naira and not in dollar, which goes back to the earlier conversation we had about selling our crude, not in foreign currencies. Right. So, Sheriff, the bottom line of this is that, like I said, maybe we also need to be giving credit to the president and some of these policies, because in the long run, it's going to help Nigeria and make these local firms, like Renaissance, to possibly grow bigger than what they are right now.
Okay, all right. Let's move on. Let's go take the Guardian very quickly, and we'll go to Rivers, because this Rivers story is everywhere. It's arguably the biggest, one of the biggest stories in the country today. It's taken a new twist. Fubara Wike face-off. New twist as Rivers stakeholders fault allocation suspension order. That story is on page 6 of the Guardian. You're tired?
I'm tired. I'm actually tired. So I just got back from Rivers State 4 days ago. Saturday, 5 days ago, Saturday, and I spent about 2 weeks. We are both familiar with the terrain, the politics, the behind the scenes, and all of that. Unfortunately, they say when 2 elephants are fighting, it's the grass that will suffer. All of these court injunctions, stop allocation, do election or no do election, take away police. All of this is just a political fight about power. That's what it is. And it's also about 2027. Now, guess what? Believe it or not, do you know that at the start of this ruffle, that the governor actually resigned? Yes. That's one information I found out in my 2 weeks. He literally resigned and said, Omo, I no do again. It was one of the former governors of the state, what's his name? Peter Odili, who said, no, you can't resign. You've been voted in by the people. your mandate is from the people. You have to find ways to ensure that this will be resolved, however you want to resolve it. That's how we've now come to this point where, the governor would tell you that he's tried to pacify the former governor, his benefactor. On one hand, the people who support the former governor will say, well, we had an arrangement, we had agreement. Why are you moving away from what we agreed on? So, Sheriff, it's just a conundrum. Now, the court has said stop allocations. The Rivers State government has appealed that decision. Right. But guess what? If the allocations are stopped, it's the people who work for the state, who are going to suffer. Yes, the governor was at an event yesterday and was saying, don't worry, don't be afraid. Yeah. Nothing is going to happen. We can resolve these issues. We will solve these issues. In fact, he even went as far as saying, don't worry, your salary will be paid. In fact, I've already signed it. You start getting your salaries from today. That's what he said yesterday. But Sheriff, it goes beyond that. I saw a stat somewhere. I don't know how true that is. Yeah. That River State depends about 60% depends on its allocations. So it means that other monies that he gets from other sources is 40%. Now, if the government loses 60% of its supposed revenue every month, how do you think that would translate into governance, which is the main issue that officials need to do? Right. So it's problematic. Right. Maybe the other side to the story would be, remember that something like this happened in Lagos during the tenure of today's president, and to a large extent he found ways to ensure that he increased the IGR of the state. Right. And more or less in that era where the former president Olusegun Obasanjo ensured that stoppage of allocation happened, Lagos found ways to get out of that quagmire. However, Rivers State is not as endowed in terms of to be able to generate as much IGR. But guess what? You remember that even in Lagos, the supposed IGR that was being generated is us, the populace, that's quote unquote suffer for it. So the state is going to suffer, from not getting allocation that it's supposed to get. And then there's also the issue of they might resort to increasing their IGR, which of course is human beings in the state that will pay for it. So it doesn't help anybody, unfortunately.
We're going to touch on this story as we go. Just briefly, I just need your input very briefly. Tinubu appoints Oluyede as acting army chief. When this story broke about the COAS not being available, some even said he had passed and all of that. There were denials everywhere. Could this be a pointer to the initial story about the state of health of the COAS chief of army?
Well, at the end of the day, the army later came out and said, hey, he's not feeling well, he's on sick leave, and he's gone to, and everything is going on. They even mentioned someone, who was enacting capacity at the time. But of course, now the president has officially and it's not the person who was supposedly enacting, this is another person. My first initial reaction to it was, is this not a junior officer? But of course, I spoke to another colleague who has military experience, or who knows the terrain very well, and he says no, this new acting CAOS, Abi?
Yes, of course.
Is the same mates with the with Lagbaja. They're on the same level, even though Lagbaja is higher in terms of rank, but they're from the same, what do you call it again? I can't remember the name, but you understand what I'm trying to say. So hopefully this the chief of army staff gets well, hopefully, and then comes back into his position.
Former Egbamuno news manager, Nigeria, Info FM, Wazobia FM, Cool FM, Kids FM. Thank you for coming around.
Yeah, thank you for waking me up early in the morning.
Lagos, that's our show today. It's back to Kofi Batel's on the Morning Crossfire. Good morning to you.
.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's